We are currently 6 weeks into this NFL season. As I will be getting into my Week 7 picks and predictions. So let's not waste any time here. Let's get into it. Last week went 10-5, which is a significant improvement from last week, as I went 4-10 the week prior. Season 51-41. That's pretty good. So let's continue to build upon that and get even better. Teams on bye this week: Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers, New York Jets, Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans, and then Tennessee Titans. I would say the two biggest winners out of this group are the Jets and the Bengals. Jets getting a big win at home against an undefeated Eagles team, 20-14. That's a good win for them going into the bye week as they sit 3-3, right in the playoff mix. So let's see what they do coming out of the bye. Cincinnati Bengals coming, big win against the Seahawks, 17-13. Low scoring, ugly game, but their defense got it done. People were really writing them off the first couple weeks as they were 0-2. Now they're sitting here at 3-3. Have a shot at the division still, so it's a long season, and they're in the thick of things in the AFC North. So we'll see what happens after that. First game, we got the Thursday night edition: Jacksonville Jaguars at the New Orleans Saints. The Jags are coming off of a win at home against the Colts, 37-20. The Jacksonville Jaguars so far have been rolling the past few weeks. Winning in London the week prior, then come back home and just dominating the Colts the way they did. I know there's reports with Trevor Lawrence right now with his knee injury right now. He's day to day, but there are reports saying that they're very optimistic about him playing. So I was debating about picking the Saints in this game to win if Trevor Lawrence wasn't able to go, but like I said, the reports have said that they're very optimistic that he's going to play. So I'm assuming he's probably going to play in this game. So that's big for them. And then the Saints obviously coming off a loss to the Houston Texans, 20-13. Obviously, the Saints didn't get anything going offensively in that game against a Texans team so far who has been a really surprising team so far. I was not expecting the Texans to be where they are right now. I was expecting them to be probably one of the worst teams in the league, but they've proved me wrong so far. But like I said, the Saints team is kind of up and down. They just one week they dominate like they did against New England the week after, and then they come out and then they don't do anything against the Texans. So this team's kind of inconsistent, so I would say. So it's just kind of hard for me to really trust the Saints right now with just how inconsistent they've been so far. So assuming Trevor Lawrence plays, I'm going to go with the Jaguars to win 21-17 on the road in a tough environment. New Orleans is a tough place to play at, obviously. But I just think that the Jacksonville Jaguars overall is just a better roster. I think they have a little bit more than the Saints do. The Saints have a pretty good defense, which will keep them in the game. But I just don't trust their offense right now to put up enough points to be able to hold off Jacksonville Jaguars here. So I like the Jags on the road, Thursday Night Football, 21-17. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. This should be a really good game right here. Two really good offenses. The Lions obviously coming off of a win down in Tampa, 20-6. I thought their defense really dominated in that game down in Tampa, making things hard on Baker Mayfield in the offense. And obviously, they were able to do anything against the Lions defense the whole game. Jared Goff looked pretty good throwing the football throughout the game and things of that nature. So, like I said, this Lions team is legit, and I just know they're a team that's in the mix for the top seed in the NFC with San Francisco and Philadelphia losing this weekend. They're definitely puts them in the mix for that number one seed. So that'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of the year there. The Baltimore Ravens obviously coming off of a win in London, 24-16 against the Titans. I really liked what the Ravens did, especially on the defensive end, shutting down Ryan Tannehill in that offense. Obviously, Tannehill ended up getting hurt in that game, but especially with the way the Ravens played the week prior at Pittsburgh, I like the way they came out, playing with more desperation, knowing that they couldn't lose another game after what they did last week in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, their defense really dominated. Lamar Jackson obviously had a pretty good day throwing the football. Obviously, he was able to do what he wanted against that Titans defense, who was supposed to be pretty good, but they weren't able to contain Lamar Jackson in that game. Um, so overall, looking at this game, Jared Goff, this is what's going to come down to. Jared Goff, in my opinion, plays better when he's at home than he does on the road. And what I mean by that is this is a good Ravens defense that he's going up against, and it's most likely going to be cold. And this game's in Baltimore, so I like the Ravens here, 26-19. I just think that the Lions had a good game last week, but this is a good defense that they're going up against. This Ravens defense is pretty good too. They're at home. Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to have a pretty good day. This Lions defense obviously is pretty good too. The Ravens are going to have to establish the run and just be balanced. They can't be one-dimensional here. Lions are pretty good at stopping the run, but I think Lamar Jackson will do just enough with his legs to extend plays and to make big plays down the field with his receivers. So I like the Ravens here. I give them the edge here, 26-19 at home. Next up, we have NFC South matchup, Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons obviously coming off of a loss last week to the Washington Commanders, 24-16. This Falcons team right now, man, is just not playing well at all. I really had some hopes with them going into this season. I know they're sitting here at 3-3, but I have not liked what I've seen from them, especially on the offensive end. Their defense is pretty good, but I just don't like the way Desmond Ridder has been playing. Just he threw that bad interception at the end of the game. Just a terrible throw by him. Just his progressions and his reads just aren't there right now. I just don't. This Falcons team just doesn't have anything going for them right now, especially on the offensive end. Just not being able to put up enough points, and then you have to go up against a good. Tampa had a bad day against the Lions, but a pretty solid Tampa Bay defense and a pretty good offense. Baker Mayfield, I expect them to have I expect them to have a pretty good game in this game. I think, being at home, obviously, this Falcons team has not been looking good so far. Overall, not much to really say about this game. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will come out on top here, 23-17. I just think that, Tampa's defense will be able to get after Desmond Ridder in that offense. I just don't think the Falcons have enough have enough pieces to be able to put up enough points offensively. I think Tampa Bay, their defense will be able to get after Ridder and that offense, make things hard for Desmond Ridder and things of that nature. So I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home here, 23-17. Next game, we got the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants. The Washington Commanders coming off of a win on the road in Atlanta, winning 24-16. I thought the Commanders did a really good job with shutting down Desmond Ridder in that offense, really just making things hard on them all day long. Their defense was on point, and just like I said, just making things hard for that Falcons offense to get anything going offensively, and things of that nature. Sam Howell had a pretty good game as well. The offense obviously was able to put up more points than the Falcons, so it was definitely enough to get them the W there. And then the Giants coming off a low-scoring loss at Buffalo, 14-9. I really thought the Giants surprised me a little bit by the way they kept that score close. The way they did, I really thought that the Giants were going to go in there and get absolutely just blown out the building. I was completely wrong about that. Their defense really showed some fight, making things hard on Josh Allen the offense, keeping everything in front of them, making things hard, um, just making them work for every single play. So you have to really give Giants credit there. They really showed some fight, especially on that side of the ball on defense. Offense obviously wasn't able to get going much against that good Bills defense. And we know the Bills is one of the best defenses in the league. Things of that nature. So, but at the end of the day, Giants were able to keep it close, and they really surprised me there. So between these two teams, Washington, they're kind of up and down. It's kind of hard for me to pick them consistently every week. Because there's some games where they are on the money, and there's other games where they just absolutely wet the bed. So it's kind of hard for me to predict them. They're pretty unpredictable. You just never know what you're going to get from them week in and week out. The Giants obviously having Saquon back and that to that offense really helps open up the field a little bit. With his presence, and Daniel Jones continue to being there and continue making good decisions with the football. If he continues to play fundamentally sound football, along with Saquon being there, running the football, and try to keep the Giants' offense balanced, I think they can definitely come on top here. I think this is one of those games where the Giants sneak out a victory here. So I'm definitely going to go with the Giants here, 21-20. I just think this is one of those games where they can't fall to 1-6. Obviously, I think they're going to play with a little bit more desperation than the Commanders. This will be a good game. It's a division game. This will be a close game, obviously, but like I said, I just think the Commanders are just a hard team to predict, just because you just don't know what you're going to get from them week in and week out. 1 week, like I said, 1 week they're on it, 1 week they're not. So, but I just think the Giants, this is one of those games where they have to win to somewhat keep their season um, above water. So, yeah, I'm going with the Giants here, 21-20 at home. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Chicago Bears. Vegas Raiders obviously coming off the win last week at home to the against the New England Patriots, 21-17. The Raiders obviously, watching that game last week against the Patriots, they were able to get things going as the game went on. I think earlier in the game, obviously, nothing was really going on with the offenses, but I think the Raiders really settled in. They got the passing game going. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo was able to get going before he got hurt. Brian Hoyer obviously coming in and filling in for Jimmy Garoppolo. Pass to Jacoby Myers for a touchdown. So that was pretty good there for them. The Raiders defense obviously would play pretty well against a Patriots team that can't get anything going. So I think they just took advantage of that and got after Mac Jones in that offense. And they gave up some plays down the field here and there, but it wasn't much. They were able to still hold Mac Jones in check and that Patriots offense and hold him to only 17 points. So that's a win there for the Raiders. The Chicago Bears obviously coming off a home loss against the Minnesota Vikings 19-13. Not much to say there. Justin Fields obviously got hurt with a wrist injury. So he ended up missing the rest of that game, and that just literally just sucked the momentum out of the building for the Chicago Bears and their fans. Seeing Justin Fields go out with the injury, and then obviously they weren't able to do anything the rest of the game with him out. With how special he is with his legs and being able to extend plays down the field, things of that nature. They really missed Justin Fields in his game. I think if he was playing, they probably would have beaten the Minnesota Vikings, but that didn't happen. So, like I said, not much to say. They ain't getting anything going on offense. They couldn't really establish the run against the Vikings defense. Minnesota really took advantage of Justin Fields being out, so things of that nature. But overall here, I like the Vegas Raiders by a touchdown here, 21-14. I just think they have a little bit more. They have just more talent offensively than the Bears do. Obviously, with Justin Fields being out, doesn't help their cause. So Vegas Raiders will have a pretty good day out there against a a pretty bad Chicago Bears team. Now, this Bears team, obviously, as of right now, they own the first 2 picks in the draft. If I were them, I would just tank the rest of the season. There's no point in them trying to win any other games. You own the first 2 picks in the draft. Just try to tank. If you're Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, at this point, he probably just should just sit the rest of the season and just rest, and then try to figure out, um, obviously, try to put more around Justin Fields. That way, he's not taking many hits and things of that nature. So I just think the Bears are just they're just in a tough spot right now. But I just don't see them winning this game. So I like the Raiders here, 21-14 in Chicago. Next up, we have an AFC East showdown. We have the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. Buffalo Bills coming off of a um, tight win on Sunday Night Football at home against the New York Giants, 14-9. There was no Daniel Jones in that game, obviously. Not really sure what happened with the Bills offense in that game. Um, they really weren't able to get anything going, honestly, throughout the whole game. Um, you have to really give the Giants credit, or give the Giants defense credit. They kept Josh Allen in check, kept him neutralized, made things hard for him. They were blitzing him, and just made things hard for him. And they like I said, they gave him what they could give him. They didn't come out on top, obviously, but they just made things a lot harder for that Bills offense just to get anything going. But also, the Bills held the Giants 9 points, so their defense is one of the best in the league. Um, so I mean, their defense is legit too. They shut down the opposing offenses, which something they've been doing all season. So it does not surprise me how good they are on that side of the ball, even though they are dealing with a little bit of injuries on that side. But they're still able to hold teams to low scoring averages, that's pretty impressive for a Bills defense. New England Patriots obviously losing in Vegas, 21-17. This New England Patriots team is just not a good football team. It's just plain and simple. They're just their offense is probably the worst in football. Um, they have probably the worst offensive line in football. Can't run the football. Can't establish the run. There's no deep threats down the field for Mac Jones to use. He had a pretty good. He threw a pretty good deep ball to Devontae Parker against the Raiders, and obviously, fingertips, that type of deal. But you gotta make that catch for Devontae Parker. I mean, that throw Mac Jones threw can't be any better. He laid it on the money, and Devontae couldn't catch the ball. So that was just a momentum breaker there for the Patriots that could have put them in field goal range, possibly winning the game by 1 point if Devontae would have made that catch. But just overall, man, this Patriots team is just a bad football team. They're 1-5 right now, and also, Bill Belichick probably has a lot to do with why the Patriots are where they are. Just with his terrible, drafting choices. His inability to, win without Tom Brady. It's very evident. With ever since Tom Brady's left, what has Bill Belichick done? Uh, Without Tom Brady. I mean, it's just he hasn't done anything. You made the playoffs in Mac's rookie year, losing to Buffalo in the wild card round, getting blown out by them, and then you haven't made the playoffs since then. So it's just like, just overall, it's not just Mac Jones. They just have a whole bunch of other issues that they need to take care of. And in my opinion, they need to clean house after this season, especially with how, you know depending on how the rest of this season goes for them. I just think they have to get rid of Bill Belichick as coach. I think Mac Jones is not the answer as well. I think you have to get rid of him. Um, and just start the whole thing over. To start the whole rebuild process, start fresh, bring in a new coach, whatever. I don't know who the coach is, but in my opinion, I think Patriots need a complete reset with their whole organization. It's just a complete mess of what Bill Belichick has created there, and look where he is right now, 1-5. Probably not gonna make the playoffs, obviously, unless you literally went out, but that's probably not gonna happen. But overall, I like the Bills here to win 24-16. I just think the Bills They've owned the Patriots the last 3-4 years. They've dominated this team, things of that nature. Patriots simply just don't have enough offensively to be able to beat the Bills. Josh Allen should have a pretty good day against this Patriot defense, obviously, who still doesn't have Matthew Judon or Christian Gonzalez, still dealing with injuries on that side. I just don't. It's just hard for me to see any the Patriots really trying to generate any type of pressure to try to get to Josh Allen. I mean, that's really what's going to take to win the game. You have to get pressure on them. You have to make things difficult. But without Judon and Gonzalez, you're literally your two best players probably on the defense. Um, it's just going to be hard for them to try to get stops in crucial moments. I think Buffalo just has a little bit too much on offense, and then their defense, obviously, holding teams to low scoring averages. It wouldn't surprise me if they held Patriots only 16 or maybe less points. So, give me the Bills here, 24-16 in Foxborough. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Indianapolis Colts. The Cleveland Browns coming off of a big win at home against the 49er team, 19-17, low-scoring game. This Browns team is very legit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. For them to be able to hold, the 49ers team who's been averaging 30 points a game, whatever you want to call it, to only 17 points, that's pretty damn impressive. I mean, this Browns team, like I said earlier, they're a Super Bowl defense. This defense is probably the best in football. They can get after the quarterback. They stop the run. It's very hard to run up against that Browns defense, especially with Myles Garrett right there and the rest of those guys. The defense is going to keep them in every game. They remind me a little bit of the Jets a little bit. Very feisty. They get after it. Very scrappy. They don't make things easy on any offense and just things of that nature. So this Browns team is just a good football team in general. I know they still don't have Deshaun Watson on offense. Their offense probably needs to be a little bit better. Obviously, I know you don't have Deshaun Watson, who can obviously make things easier with his legs and make things happen with it, throwing the football down the field. But the Browns, were still able to establish a pretty good run game. They don't really have a passing game right now, obviously, with no Deshaun Watson. But they're going to win. They're going to have to win games, obviously, with their defense, which I think is probably one of the best, if not the best, in football. So, so they got that going over there. The Colts obviously coming off a tough loss in Jacksonville, 37-20. No Anthony Richardson in that game, obviously dealing with injuries, probably gonna be out for the rest of the season, which is unfortunate for them. So Gardner Minshew is probably gonna be the quarterback for quarterbacking rest of the year there. Even though the Colts lost last week, they're still sitting here at 500. They still have a shot. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but they still have a shot possibly if they continue to move things in the right direction, that type of deal. They can probably get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it though. Just the AFC is just too tough. But who knows? You never know what could happen. But so yeah, I mean, losing Anthony Richardson, obviously, who has lots of potential coming in. I just think losing him is going to be. I just don't see how the Colts really get much going, especially without your quarterback who was supposed to be something special. But but overall, I like the Browns here, 17-16 at home. Think it's gonna be another low-scoring, ugly game. The Browns still don't have Deshaun Watson most likely in this game, so but I think the Browns defense will make more plays. I think Myles Garrett should have another big game. I think the Browns will make more plays down the stretch and help the Browns squeeze out a close victory in Indianapolis, 17-16. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the LA Rams. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously were on a bye last week. And week 5, they were able to beat the Ravens at home, 17-10. And things of that nature. Now, the only thing about the Steelers I have questions I'm concerned with is how are they going to come out this bye week? Are they going to come out and continue to build off of what they did in week 5 against the Ravens? or are you going to see a Steelers team that's going to come out and been doing the same thing? No creativity offensively. What does Matt Canada have in store, or what does he have cook? What does he have in his playbook to be creative against good defenses? Because this Rams team is a good defense. Okay, this Rams team held. They beat the Cardinals 26-9 last week. I know it's the Cardinals, but still, this Rams team is a pretty solid defense. And it's going to be interesting seeing how Pittsburgh comes out the bye week going to LA, going up against this Rams defense who has momentum right now. I'm not sure if Pittsburgh is going to come out rusty or they're going to come out ready to go and ready to be creative offensively, that type of deal. So that'll be interesting there. But the Rams, obviously, they dominated the Cardinals the whole game. Obviously, no, it was close early, but then the Rams eventually got going in that second half against a bad Cardinals team, holding them to 9 points and that type of deal. Matthew Stafford obviously had a pretty good second half in that game, got things going. But overall, it's just hard for me to really trust the Steelers team right now. I just think there's too much inconsistencies. I just have to see it week in and week out for this team. They one week they play well against the Ravens, and then you never know, they come out another week and they just play like absolute crap. But overall, I like the Rams here, 21-13. I just don't trust the Steelers offense. I just don't trust Matt Canada, who I believe needs to be gone from being offensive coordinator. I just think that's what's really holding the Steelers team back, is him running this offense and with his just terrible play calling. And obviously, you can't do that going up against this Rams team. I just think this Rams team, especially on the defensive end, I think they're going to be able to get after Kenny Pickett in his offense. I just trust the Rams more. I just trust the Rams a little bit more in this game. At home, Steelers defense obviously will keep them in the game. They're that special on that side of the ball. But, Kenny Pickett in this offense, I just got to see more from them. I got to see more consistency. I just don't trust that they can be consistent week in and week out. So give me the Rams here, 21-13 at home. Next up, we have an AFC West showdown. We have the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, Cardinals coming off a loss, 26-9 in LA. Couldn't get anything going offensively throughout the game. Obviously, they got something going that first quarter, first half-ish. But then, they got hit with reality and they didn't do anything the rest of the game. This Cardinals team, the first 3 weeks, they were 3-0 against the spread in the first 3 weeks. They beat the Cowboys, but I think the reality is really setting in with this team. This is not a good football team. This is probably the worst roster in the league. Just top to bottom. I mean, you don't have no Kyler Murray obviously until December. Which, I mean, honestly, if I were Kyler Murray, I wouldn't even think about coming back. There's no point of him coming back. What are you playing for at this point? Cardinals are probably going to be worse than what the record is right now by the time December rolls around. So what's the point of him coming back? Just rest up and get ready for next year for Kyler Murray. It's probably the best choice for him long term right now. You have nothing to play for so far if you're the Cardinals this season. Just a bad football team. Looking at their team, they have potential, but they just don't have enough to compete with these teams right now. They just are at a disadvantage. They got a good win against the Cowboys, but like I said, I think their reality is setting in, and they're just not able to beat these good teams. Seattle obviously coming off a loss in Cincinnati, 17-13. I mean, Seahawks, the Bengals really held them in check throughout the entire game. Their defense really got after that Seahawks offense and things of that nature. They weren't able to get anything going against this Bengals defense. So you have to really give the Bengals credit there. The Seahawks obviously needs to, I would say, need to be a little bit more consistent with the offense. They only scored 13 points, but the Bengals obviously, like I said, they have a pretty good defense and things of that nature. But I think the Seahawks will bounce back here. They're at home. I like the Seahawks 28-17 at home against the Cardinals. I think the Seahawks will have a much better game, especially on offense. They'll put up more points against a bad Cardinals team, and their defense should be able to get after that Cardinals offense, and things of that nature. So, giving the Seahawks here 28-17 at home, I think they should have a much better game this week. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos. The Packers obviously were on a bye last week. Week prior, they lost to the Raiders week 5 and things of that nature. Um, like I said, Jordan Love and his offense needs to be better. Jordan Love really the last couple of weeks have not played well. Still interceptions against the Raiders and that type of deal. He needs to clean that up. Especially against this Broncos defense. The Broncos defense obviously has not looked good this season until last week. They really did a good job of holding Patrick Mahomes. Offense only 19 points. Obviously, the Denver offense wasn't able to get anything going offensively. But their defense really, they played really hard and they really kept them in the game. They still had a chance to win that game, but obviously the Chiefs, kicked the field goal to go up 11. That was really the dagger there. So the Broncos need to, they need to be more better. They need to be better on offense and try to put up more points to try to get that defense a little rest. Things of that nature. But overall, this comes down to trust. Between these two teams, I just don't trust the Denver Broncos right now. I was gonna pick them to win. I just don't think they have enough offense to be able to hold off the Packers team. And this Packers defense is obviously good when they want to be. There are times where you know, they could be a little shaky on that side of the ball. But I trust Green Bay's defense more than I trust Denver right now, just a little bit. I think Jordan Love will have a much better game. I think he will clean up those turnovers that he had against the Raiders in Week 5. He's probably been working on them in the bye week and things of that nature. But overall, here I like the Green Bay Packers to win 20-17, a close matchup in Denver. I just think Jordan Love in that offense will be able to put up just a little bit more points than Denver's. I just think their offense is a little bit more consistent than Denver's offense is right now. Russell Wilson obviously in the offense just can't get anything going down the field. They're going to have to rely on their defense too, obviously, who has been pretty disappointing through the first 4 weeks this season. Last week they played pretty well against the Chiefs, but it's still not enough. I just think Green Bay is a better team here. I think they bounce back here on the road in Denver, 20-17. Another good game here, AFC West showdown. We have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the Chargers coming off of a tough loss, close loss at home to the Cowboys, 20-17. The Chargers, they put themselves in good position to win that game. Obviously, they started off pretty well by by going up 7-0 to start the game against the Cowboys, and then the rest of the game was just a defensive battle. This Chargers defense obviously is probably the best they've played so far this season. They were able to really get after Dak Prescott, really make things hard on him and then that offense on the Cowboys. Holding the Cowboys to only 20 points. That's pretty impressive for a Chargers team who hasn't been impressive all the other weeks before this. But they got to be more consistent than that. I think they have to be able to play that type of defense against this Chiefs team who hasn't been really impressive so far this season, but even though they are winning. Obviously, the Chiefs coming off a win last week at home to the Denver Broncos 19-8. This Chiefs team right now, especially on offense, is looking a little bit shaky. It's a little bit concerning for me. They're not as dominant this year as they were last year offensively, even though they are still finding ways to win games. This receiving core for the Chiefs obviously is not as strong as it was last year. Um, there's still guys on the receiving core that has to be more consistent with catching the football. You saw in week 1 against the Lions how many drops Tony has had, and some of those other receivers, just being, just inconsistent with catching the football. You know, you're playing with Patrick Mahomes, a guy that has high expectations. Especially when it gets to the postseason, you gotta be able to make catches like that. You gotta be able to make those critical catches. Um, that could be a difference in the game. That could be a difference in winning or losing the game. So, um, but overall, I mean, at the end of the day, a W is a W. If you're the Chiefs, it's not pretty the way their offense is looking right now, but they are still finding ways to win games, and that's all that matters at the end. Um, they're still 5-1. They're still on top of the AFC right now, and things that nature. This game's at home too, so give me the Chiefs here in a tight game, 28-24. I just don't, the one thing that's going to be a difference in this game, I just don't trust, excuse me, Brandon Staley and his coaching staff to be able to put the Chargers in positions to win the game. I just think that this, just the coaching, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that's probably the best duo in football. As long as those two are on the sidelines together, you're pretty much gonna be in every game. You're pretty much gonna win most of your games. So I just trust the Chiefs a lot more in their coaching staff more than I do the Chargers coaching staff. And I think Brandon Staley's probably gonna be gone after this year, especially if this team doesn't get to the playoffs and that type of nature, that type of deal there. So give me the Chiefs at home, 20-24. I just trust them a little bit more than I do with the Chargers. Ooh, man, this is going to be a good game right here. We got the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Miami Dolphins coming off of a big win at home against the Panthers team, 42-21. Uh, at first they were down 14-0, which I was like, whoa, this team, is this a trap game for the Dolphins? But then they were able to get things rolling after that, outscoring the Panthers the way they did, and just dominating, especially in that second half. Panthers weren't able to do anything the rest of the game after going up 14-0. This Dolphins team is just, looking at them, they're just offense right now is just playing just out of their minds right now. Probably the best offense in football, if I'm being completely honest with you. Um, you know, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and just the rest of those guys off and just so fast. It's just really, really difficult, really for any team to really defend this Dolphins offense right now. Tua's playing really well right now. Um, we'll see if he continues to stay healthy, but as of right now, he's staying healthy. He's balling out, and he's showing the rest of the league, why he's that dude. He's probably put himself in the MVP race, in that type of deal. The way he's playing, he's just having a really good year so far, along with those weapons that he has available to him. Dolphins defense, obviously, a little bit concerned on that end. The defense not as strong. They give up a little bit of points on that side of the ball. And that type of deal. I was expecting their defense to be, they were projected to be a top 10 defense, but I don't think that's really the case right now. They're still giving up points defensively, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day because their offense can, make up and offset what the defense is not able to do with holding teams to a low amount of points. They're still getting up points on that side of the ball, but like I said, their offense is just that special, and they're able to put up points whenever they want. Philadelphia Eagles obviously come off of a loss at New York, 20-14. Um, yeah, I mean this offense just didn't do anything the whole game. Um, I think it was one of those situations where, I think the Eagles were looking ahead to this game against the Dolphins. I think they were overlooking the Jets. I think it was because, no Aaron Rodgers, so okay, well they think they're just gonna go in there and just overlook the Jets and that type of deal, and then they got the reality check. The Jets, got after Jalen Hurts in that offense. Jalen Hurts couldn't, he threw a couple interceptions in that game, and that really cost him. And it just kept the Jets in the game. And really the Jets, even though they were down a tiny bit in that game, they just had momentum in that game. Watching that game, the fans were going nuts. Their defense was just flying around the field everywhere. Just their defense. Their defense is legit overall. But so yeah, that's why I think what happened. I think they just overlooked the Jets, and it came back to bite them. And now they're sitting here at 5-1, which they could possibly be sitting here at 6-0. But I think they overlooked the Jets, and that's what happened. They ended up losing in a tight game. So between these two teams here, this game's in Philadelphia. Sunday night football. It's going to be cold. Um, Miami dominated the way they did. The Eagles obviously had a bad game. But overall, I like the Philadelphia Eagles to win a tight game here, 34-31. This is probably the game of the week, obviously. There's going to be a lot of offense in this game. I just think the defenses are going to have a tough time stopping each other's offense. I don't think the Miami Dolphins defense is good. And I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles defense is all that good. I don't think they're as strong as they were last year. So there's going to be a lot of points scored, especially on the offenses. But I think the Eagles to bounce back here. I just think, having that bad game last week against the Jets, I think they bounce back here. I think they focus up here against a really just explosive Miami offense. But overall, I think Jalen Hurts should have a field day against this Miami defense. I don't think this Miami defense is strong, as I thought they would be. They're giving up points on that side of the ball, and I think Jalen Hurts being at home here will get the edge here. If this game was in Miami, I would definitely go with Miami to win, but I just like the Eagles in this situation, especially after coming off a bad loss to the Jets on the road. So give me the Eagles here, 34-31. It should be a really good game here. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Minnesota Vikings. San Francisco obviously coming off a tough loss in Cleveland, 19-17. Obviously, Brock Purdy wasn't able to get anything going throughout the game. The Browns defense really kept him in check, really making things hard for him and the rest of that offense. They had a touchdown to go up late in the game, but overall the Browns were able to match that. They were able to go down and score to go up, or not go up, but they were able to go down and get more points on that side to put them up by 2 points late in the game. 49ers still had a chance to win the game, but they ended up missing the field goal at the end of the game that ended up costing them the game. So, Brock Purdy, obviously, looking at him so far this season, he's been pretty good up until the Browns game. He's a game manager at best. We really saw, what he can do and what he couldn't do. He just wasn't able to dissect this Browns defense. He had a couple off throws here and there, which was very uncharacteristic of him. Normally he makes those throws. He was just kind of off with his throwing throughout the game. Like I said, the Browns defense, you have to give them credit. They really made things hard for Brock Purdy and the offense to get anything going and that type of deal. So, so that was a tough loss for them there. And then the Vikings, obviously, coming off of a win in Chicago, 19-13. Obviously, there was no Justin Jefferson in that game. But Jordan Addison, obviously, were able to offset that. They were able to, they scored 19 points, but it was just enough against a Bears team who didn't have Justin Fields. Obviously, he's dealing with that wrist injury that he dealt with in that game. Obviously, Minnesota just dominated defensively without Justin Fields. No Justin Fields in that game. They were able to get after the Bears offense, and obviously Chicago wasn't able to do anything throughout the game. So, excuse me. But this Vikings team, like I said, 2-4 right now. If they can find a way to beat this 49er team, they're definitely in the mix for the playoffs. I still think there's still a chance for them to get in the playoffs if they can continue to win and get that momentum. But I think the 49ers here, I think they bounce back here 27-21. I think they're just a better football team. On the road, I think they bounce back after that, close, tough loss to the Browns. I think they're going to be motivated to come out here and, show why, they're one of the top teams in the NFC and that type of deal. And I just simply just don't think, with no Justin Jefferson obviously for the Vikings, that they're able to put up enough points to be able to hold off this 49er team, who's obviously a good defensive team, who's going to get after Kirk Cousins in that offense and make things difficult and that type of deal. But I think the Minnesota Vikings will keep things interesting. If this game was in San Francisco, I probably would pick the 49ers by a little bit more, but this game's in Minnesota, so I think Minnesota will keep things interesting, but I think the 49ers just have a little bit more on both sides of the ball. So give me the Niners here, 27-21 on the road. It should be a pretty good game here. And I'll do it. Those are my Week 7 NFL predictions. Comment your picks below. Like, share, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.